from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace.
The meaning of the song is, welcome the divine Hari to the core of your heart. Make your mind like a flower and offer it to the holy feet. Be the anklet on the feet and kiss the holy feet. With loving tears, give your all in all to divine Hari. स्वागत कर ले पूजा हरि मन में, स्वागत कर ले पूजा हरि मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी। हरि आए तेरे मन मंदिर में, हरि आए तेरे मन मंदिर में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी। स्वागत कर ले पुजारी मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी। फूल बना ले मन को तेरा, फूल बना ले मन को तेरा, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी। स्वागत कर ले पुजारी मन में, स्वागत कर ले पुजारी। हृदय कमल से पूजन कर ले, हृदय कमल से पूजन कर ले। देख मूर्ति जी को भर ले, देख मूर्ति जी को भर ले। चरण चूम ले नूपुर होकर, चरण चूम ले नूपुर होकर, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी। प्रेम की आंसू भेंट चढ़ा ले, प्रेम की आंसू भेंट चढ़ा ले। भक्ति प्रेम अनुराग चरणों पर तन मन दे दे, उन चरणों पर तन मन दे दे, उन चरणों पर तन मन दे दे, उन चरणों पर पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी मन में, पूजन कर गिरधारी.
I'm reading from the book Swami Kripamayananda as we saw him, the reminiscences of monastic and lay devotees. This one is about Swami Sharvananda. Within a few days of my stay in the monastery, I found out what Shashi Maharaj wanted of us. Shashi Maharaj is Swami Kripamayananda's name. He wanted us to be very precise, punctual, regular, quick in action, and all attention in our work, particularly in our duties in the shrine room and services to Sri Guru Maharaj. On the very second day, while doing some work in the shrine room, he told me, pointing to the likeness of Sri Ramakrishna with a firmness of tone that was peculiarly his own. Look here, my boy, don't consider that as a mere picture of Sri Ramakrishna. He is actually present here. Try to feel his living presence and do your services accordingly. That was my second lesson from the great saint. On the following day, I was somewhat inadvertent in my shrine room work, and that brought a severe scolding from him. Not being accustomed to that type of scolding, and that too for such a trivial fault, I broke down crying. Seeing me weep, he at once softened and began to say in a very endearing tone, "Do you know what Sri Ramakrishna used to say? A blacksmith first puts a lump of iron into the fire, and when it becomes red hot, he then puts it on the anvil and beats it into shape. That is how an unformed lump of metal is shaped into a useful article. You are all like that unformed lump, and it is for your good that you are put to forge and beaten to shape on the anvil by such scoldings. It is all for your benefit." His relenting voice was somewhat heartening to me. The very next day after this incident, while we were all sitting at our meals, nice Malgova mangoes were served. It was first offered to Shashi Maharaj. As soon as he tasted a little bit of a big one given to him, he exclaimed, "Oh, how sweet! It is exceedingly nice. Take it, my boy." With these words, melting almost in motherly affection, he put that biggest of fruits on my plate. That single act of affection revealed his inner heart to me, and from that moment onwards, none of his scoldings and chastisements did hurt me or wound my pride, in as much as I could always feel that behind those stern words and grim face reposed a most loving heart and tender affection than that even a fond mother could not harbor. His method of training was certainly violent, and even at sometimes very harsh. Many came, but few could stand his test. During my stay with him, I found that he did not lay much stress on such spiritual practices as meditation or japam. His chief care was to see how precise and accurate, neat and devoted we were in our duties to Sri Ramakrishna. Here is it.
Now a short period of meditation. Happy Easter to you all. Welcome to the Sunday service of the Vedanta Society today on the Easter Sunday. And our topic today is self-discipline. The dictionary definition of self-discipline is the ability to control one's feelings and overcome one's weaknesses. The ability to pursue what one thinks is right despite temptations to abandon it. Very clear. Viveka and Vairagya. They may be full of lower nature to do something, but higher nature says, no, that is not good. So, as the Kathopanishad said, the pleasant and good, they both present themselves to us. And we choose the what is good, what is shreyas, and discard the pleasant. That is what is called, when the temptations invite us, temptations are there, to abandon what is good, still we pursue what is right, what is beneficial. So that is called self-discipline. It can be very small things, even putting the shoes in parallel, both shoes parallel, making the bed early in the morning. All these are part of self-discipline. Going to bed in time, despite we have a very interesting serial or movie show, and not being indulged in Netflix, though it was a very interesting movie late at night because it is a Friday night. Those are all parts of self-discipline. Tomorrow I have to get up in time. I should maintain punctuality in my routine of spiritual practice. These are all very small things, but these are all parts of self-discipline. By constant self-discipline and self-control, you can develop greatness of character. So we become true human beings by practice of self-discipline, which definitely means self-control. Self-discipline requires self-control, control of our whims and feelings. Says Swami Kripamayananda, When we let loose our feelings, we waste so much of energy, shatter our nerves, disturb our minds, and accomplish very little work. The man who gives way to anger or hatred or any other passion cannot work. He only breaks himself to pieces and does nothing practical. It is the calm, forgiving, equable, well-balanced mind that does the greatest amount of work, and that all comes from self-discipline and self-control. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, one who has no self-control has no peace. One who has no peace has no happiness. And one who has no contact with the true self has no self-control. So automatically come that self-control or self-discipline, the very source is our contact with our true self or higher self. Our willpower, not giving to our mental wishes, temporary wishes, and willpower prevails and we do the right thing, and that can come from our contact with our true self, from where the energy to do right thing comes, from where the inspiration to do the right thing comes, from where the strength to overcome weaknesses of our mind comes. So without that contact with the true self, there is no self-control, and when there is no self-control, there is no peace, and when there is no peace, where is happiness? Ashantasya kuta sukham, nasti buddhi ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana. There is no control for those who are not united. Nacha bhavayata shanti, abhavayata, uncontrolled. They have no peace. And ashantasya kuta sukham, where is this happiness without peace? Peace expresses itself as true happiness. We often say that happiness is the fulfillment of desire. We are very active in pursuing our desire to achieve the goal that we wanted, and we get that goal and we feel very happy. But happiness is not the fulfillment of our desires. They say happiness is the time when one desire is fulfilled and another desire has not come. So the time between two desires, fulfilled desires and no new desire has come. So that is called real peace and happiness. So whenever desire for achieving, for gaining something, for possessing something, for enjoying something is there, there is no real happiness. The happiness that seems with the fulfillment for achieving or gaining that enjoyment or gaining that object is just cessation of the desire, and we feel happy. It is not in getting that thing, but in cessation, stopping, finishing, desire is done. So that is how the happiness is described in the scriptures. Very subtle way this happiness has been studied, and that happiness is the result of real peace. Self-control is the control of mind and its desires, urges, emotions, and delusions. Self-control is the key to success in any field of life. Without self-control, we cannot achieve what to speak of spiritual life, but in anything of life, we need to have self-control. Viveka and Vairagya are needed to achieve. A student wants to achieve good ranks in his studies, so he'll have to have this self-control, or she needs to have practiced this self-discipline in life. Without that, no study is possible. Swami Ranganathananji was being interviewed by an American journalist on a TV, and he asked Swami Ranganathananji that you ask of self-control, that it is like repressing something, it is like forcibly controlling yourself. Then how this can be great? It will be very negative feeling may come, the urges or desires are suppressed, it is suppression, repression. And it may create this repression of the free will. When they are done, it may burst out into very negative ideas. Swami Ranganathan didn't say anything. He just said, "Have you heard of Ravi Shankar's music?" He said, "Yes." "How do you like?" "Oh, wonderful sitar he plays." So we like, how did he achieve that thing? Didn't he achieve that lot of practice? And didn't that practicing hours needed so much of sacrifice, so much of self-control, and putting all attention to music and giving up all other desires? So how this self-control alone can lead to success in any field in life? That is not repressive, that is not some negative thing that happens, that you think happens. Our scriptures, experiments by our saints and seers for thousands of years have shown that you need to discipline our life. Disciplining life is not repressing or suppressing something. It is sublimating our urges through our intellectual knowledge, through our willpower. And it is all about viveka and vairagya, discernment and detachment. And what is not good, you give up and you pursue the goal. And that self-discipline alone can make one person like Kapil Dev in cricket, or Saurabh Ganguly in cricket, or Ravi Shankar in music, or Rabindranath in literature, or like that. It comes through all discipline. Life alone can make greatness in everywhere. Mind is our friend and also enemy, and the greatest enemy. An unruly mind is our worst enemy. We had in the earlier times, even the kings would have neighboring kings as their enemy. And they used to fight each other. And the worst enemy was when their own person got inclined and became a traitor by taking the side of enemy country. And that was the greatest enemy, their own subject, their own people whom they trusted, and they betrayed, they were traitors. Like that is our mind. Our mind, which is can be our wonderful friend, and it can serve us and guide us and give us whatever we want, can be a worst enemy when it becomes full of lust, anger, greed, delusion, pride and jealousy, as they call Shad Vikara, Shad Ripu, 6 enemies: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, lust, anger, greed, delusion, pride and jealousy. These are like our enemies, and our mind, which is our friend, which is supposed to our friend, somehow goes and starts having link and friendship with them and brings those things to us. It brings lust to us, it brings anger to us, it brings pride to us and greed in us, and that behaves. And we thought mind is ours, it is our friend, and really it has become our worst enemy when it finds, it mixes with those very Sadripu, 6 great enemies of our life. When it becomes friendly with them, it brings those things to us, or we become powerless by having the weak intellect, weak willpower. Whatever mind says, we give up to its saying, and all these things coming, lust and greed and pride and jealousy, and all those things, delusion, they coming, and we pay no heed to them. Where mind is taking us, what is going to happen to my mind? What about discipline? All is gone. Free, giving freedom to your expression, self-expression, and no self-control. Some psychologists will call it like that is good. You give self-expression, but scriptures, Vedanta doesn't say that is true self-expression. We'll come to what real self-expression is. That's why it is said, Atmaiva hi atmano bandhu, atmaiva ripuratmana. Mind is a wonderful thing. It is sometimes great friend and sometimes worst enemy. And this Bhagavad Gita itself says, who is the friend mind and who is this enemy mind? bandhuratmat manastasya enat vaimat manajita anat manastu satrutve vartetat maiva satruvat. Mind is enemy and behaves like enemy when it is uncontrolled mind, indisciplined mind, let loose mind. You hear to whatever mind says, and mind is taking you where you do not know, you are unaware. That is the greatest enemy. Your life will be ruined, you will be subjugated, you will become slave, you will become dominated by other country, you lose your freedom. And when your mind is controlled, self-controlled mind, greatest friend, it will always protect you from going helter-skelter, and it will be always leading you towards light and wonderful life. Very precious, joyful life will be all given to you as the grace by this controlled mind, says our scriptures. Control of mind is the highest yoga and greatest spiritual practice. Now the question comes, how can we control our mind? To control the mind, mind's quality is needed. When mind is impure, that all this Sadripu, Sadvikara, all Sadripus are there in the mind. We are cherishing, indulging in some greed and do not discriminate what should we eat and what should we buy and what should we possess. We indulge in whatever our mind speaks or whatever our thought brings, and we don't even realize what it is bringing to me is right or wrong, whether it is injurious to me or is good for me. And I let whatever mind says to me, I take it as the very true. Such type of mind is impure mind. When mind is impure, it is very difficult to control it. It becomes very powerful. Powerful enemy it becomes. So mind has to be purified if we want to control mind and find peace and joy in life. So to control the mind, we have to change its character from impure to pure. Only then we can achieve self-control and we can achieve self-discipline in our life. And how that purity can be achieved. So purity of mind can be achieved with some practices. What are those practices? Purity comes through prayer, coming to whatever you feel like. Pray to, if you don't believe in God with form, pray to the presence of a formless God. He is always there with us. He is listening to our every thought. He doesn't want to have to listen to our words. He listens to our thought. So subtle is the approach and relations of God with us. You just sit and think, and God listens to it. Sri Ramakrishna says, God listens to the anklets on the feet of ant. Now ants' feet are so small, and think of anklet, how subtle it will be, and what sound it will produce if it is there, and that God listens. So God listens very subtle things. Our subtle prayers are all heard by God. And when we pray to God, for my Lord, make my mind pure, with sincerity, when you say, God listens to it and answers to it, and God helps to make our mind pure. That sincere prayer that comes from our heart itself is the answer of God. Work has started already if our prayer is sincere to God. Already it is God's grace that we have started praying to God sincerely with faith in Him, and the things comes. So prayer is wonderful way to make our mind pure. And japam. What is japam? Japam is repeating God's name. Any name of God, like Jesus, Kali, Shiva, any name of God, Allah, Vaheguru, any name of God is so powerful prayer. One is the Lord, give me purity of mind. Another just saying Ram, Ram, Ram. Any name of God is prayer. Just the name, monosyllable word Ram. That is so powerful prayer. If you do, it just connects your God and mind starts getting purified with this japam. And when you have the mantra formally taken from someone whom you think in the order in the formal way, and you get the mantra as the name of God, then it becomes so powerful that it really purifies the mind. One person told me, he was a doctor when I was in India. He said, Swamiji, after I took initiation from President Maharaj, my life has changed. I feel so much peace and joy in life, in hectic life of a doctor. I find so much peace now. What was disturbing me earlier, it has been so much change in my attitude, because he was gaining the purity of mind and gaining peace and joy of life by repeating the mantra, by repeating God's name, by doing japa. Japa is so powerful tool for purifying the mind. When we have to clean our clothes, we earlier used to wash, we put with soap and wash it with hand, and lot of work is used to do, and then rinse in water, and water is so clean, the cloth has become clean, and now we have easier way. Still, what we used to do with hand, now the machine does, washing machine that we put there, it cleans, it rubbing and moving and churning, it cleans our cloth. But the cleaning of our mind, which is like a cloth, it gets dirtied with bad thoughts, and that needs to be cleaned with soap and water as it were, and that soap and water are prayer and japam. When we do that, mind becomes clean again. Again it is clean, and the best way to continue prayer and japam so that mind doesn't get soiled at all. It is always clean, and it gives us peace and happiness always. Other way to keep the mind clean is meditation. Little difficult process, but not impossible. Sitting quietly and trying to focus our mind on some high thought, happy, blissful thought, a divine light we can imagine in the heart, presence of divinity in the room, you can think of there is divinity. Or if you have some sign or symbol of a God, like a church, like a cross, or image of a deity, God, or any symbol if you have, or you feel seated in a holy place where God's prayer is done. For example, in mosque, there is no sign of any symbol of God. There is no even moon and star. But there they pray to God 5 times a day, and the place becomes holy if they feel connected to God. And when you pray there, go there and pray, then you can meditate there on that divine feeling that God, whom I prayed 5 times a day, He listens to me, and His grace makes me pure-minded, which makes me not fight with others, love all, serve all, and treat everyone as God's children according to Dvaita, as my own true self according to Advaita. However you feel your relationship with the people around you, according to your spiritual inclination. If you are a believer in Advaita, you treat everyone as your own self, appearing as a different person, your own self. Or if you are a believer in Advaita, as the God's creation, your beloved God's creation, His children. So both demand love, respect and care from us. Whole humanity demands. If you think of that and find your life heartful love, a love for everyone, then the joy comes. When the joy comes, then it is easy for that joyful mind to sit and focus on the object of meditation, on the idea of meditation. You can meditate on the form of the divine. When we meditate on Sri Ramakrishna, we know he is so pure that nothing impure has ever crossed his mind and body. He had been totally pure throughout his life. That life person, you see there, symbol of purity, renunciation, love and bliss. That when you think of that, all that ideas come you, and your mind gets focused, and that is the greatest cleaner of our mind. Mind becomes pure with the meditation on the divine idea or divine form. Mind also gets purified and easy to control if we do other common religious things like pilgrimage. going to the holy places, places where many believe that God manifested, is more manifested there. And their faith has been there, like it is condensed faith of people for thousands of years, of the presence of God there. If you go to Bethlehem, I have seen there people going there and crying. They were really shedding tears. I've seen people exuberant with joy when they visited Kailash or Kedar or wherever, Kanyakumari you go, places of pilgrimage, all is so much joyful because people have visited there with faith, and that faith is all condensed and resides there. God's presence is felt more at the places of pilgrimage by any common person. That also helps in having the faith, trust in the presence of God, and also in purifying the mind. Other things that help us in purifying the mind is austerity. Not indulging in everything that is comfortable and luxury of life. Little austerity. How to practice austerity? Austerity practicing little self-control. Like sometimes we don't eat food. Sometimes they say, like in every religion it is there. It is the month of Ramadan for Muslims now. They do not eat at daytime. After sunrise until sunset, they do not eat or drink anything. Self-control, austerity, what they have been doing for the need of body has been little check is there. So Hindus do on Ekadasi days or on Purnima or Amavasya days. They won't eat for 24 hours or eat very little spares. Some people, like the 40-day Lent of the Christians, they don't eat certain things on that 40-day time. They will not, those who eat and meat and fish, they will not eat meat. They have some austerity, some self-control. That helps. You're giving something less than what you have been doing. It helps to control yourself. It helps in self-control. It helps in purifying the mind. That is what your austerity can do. What is only in the food, I said, austerity can be many things. They said one nice thing, they said, this austerity or keeping fast is not only not eating, but also not using your mobile phones. We have so much use that without phone as if we cannot live. Something we take it that has become a very much part of ourselves. So don't use mobile phone or contact with the world that day, one day. World doesn't destroy or goes upside down if you don't control with the contact with the world one day. But that is also a kind of self-control or austerity. When we start controlling the things that we think are essential, without that we cannot live, then we can have greater control in our life. We get the strength of mind, and when the strength of mind is attained, mind becomes already purer and controllable. So this austerity helps in purifying the mind. Other things that help in purifying the mind is charity, helping others, giving something to the needy, something to those whom we do not know. But giving something immediately connects us with the people as our own. Our mind broadens. Our family of 3 or 4 immediately becomes family of hundreds, the people who suffer in any part of the country when you send money to them. Or you send money, if you help your own people who need something, that also is charity, but without any expectation from them. If we have expectation in charity, you want a big, nice thanks letter in golden letters. Thank you very much for donating so many hundreds of dollars to the Red Cross. And this letter is not coming in. Now we are saying, why didn't they are not responding, reciprocating, they have become lazy. All your charity is gone. Mind, instead of becoming pure, has become more impure because you put desire for thank you letter, respond, relative you help, and relative things, and you have to say, oh, you have been so great that you did so much for me. Don't expect anything. Do give in charity whatever you can. That is the one of the things that makes mind pure. And study of scriptures. That is another thing. Read Gospel, read Bible, read Adi Granth Sahib, read anything, read Quran. And you find so much things. You don't have to read only the hardest scriptures, difficult to understand. Read the life of great saints. Read the conversation with saintly persons. In Ramakrishna Vivekananda literature, so many wonderful, readable, happy readings are there. There nowadays, this story of Vedanta monks, very happy reading. Every story of every monk makes your mind pure. All this cleaning agent you are putting as it were, and mind becomes pure. These are all how mind becomes pure, and when the mind is purified, it can be controlled. And of course, Sri Ramakrishna would add one more to all these things, holy company. Always try to have the company of devotees and conversation about God or holy things. Share what you read. There is one devotee of ours, she often calls and she reads some journals of the Ramakrishna order. Whenever she calls, she says, Swami, I read in this Bengali journal Udbodhan, what a beautiful article they have written. And she reads and she shares to everyone. I think she does that to everyone. When you talk about something good, that is all purifying to the speaker, purifying to the listener. Like that, these are how things that we can control the mind. And it is said, the self-control, some branch of psychologists, they say it is very repressive, inhibitive and reactive, and it may express, and as the explosion of something that is repression, there might be neurosis and all that, new science, new psychology bringing. But what about our Vedantic psychology? What about that psychology that has been proven right and correct and true for thousands of years? They say control, self-control is necessary. When you have red light on the traffic, you have to put the brake, you have to control the speed of your car. When there is speed control mentioned, you should control. Otherwise, there will be accident, there will be great injury for yourself and for others. You have to control. Self-control is necessary in life if we want to lead a happy, peaceful, joyful life. Without self-control, there is no joy in life. That's why Bhagavad Gita says, he who is able to withstand the force of lust and anger even before he quits his body, he is a yogi, he is a happy man. Shaknoti haiva yasodum praksharira vimokshara kama krodhodbhavam begam sayukta sasukhi nara. Like that, controlling these passions, people thousands of years have arrived to that blissfulness of a yogi and that happiness. It is time-tested thing, not the modern few things they are afraid of. Though that repression is done through logic and done through viveka and vairagya, through understanding, through intelligently, that giving up to everything that our mind seeks when it is impure, and feeding with all those things will create indigestion of the mind. So I have to be selective to what to give to the mind, and that is what is control your lust and anger, and you will be happy person. And he says, those who are free from lust and anger, we have subdued their minds and realized the self, that is the higher self. Those self-controlled persons, both here and hereafter, attain freedom in Brahman. They attain freedom in Brahman here itself. Brahma Jnani, they become Jivan Mukta by just controlling their passions of lust, anger, greed, all these 6 enemies who try to control us. You become a strong emperor, big king, conqueror, that controls all this lust, anger. They can't come near you at all. Like that Shiva or that Narada, when he thought that, like Shiva you can say, lust wanted to control and do the things to him. And Shiva opened the eye and lust vanished just by looking at it. See the amount of purity and willpower of Shiva. That comes from the knowledge of what is good and what is not good. And they cannot stand. Like Buddha sat for meditation, and then Mara came and said, no, you can't realize the truth, it is very hard, give up, get up from your seat. Buddha said, no, I will sit. From where that strength, willpower came? That came from the knowledge. He said, I have not achieved this state in many of my births. Today I am not going to listen to anyone. My mind is strong. I am fully prepared. And what Mara you have come? Get out from here. Mara tried these all ways. Greed and lust and fear, everything, that are the things that Mara does to dissuade him from doing good. Shreyangsi Bahu Vignani. Swami Vivekananda writes in his works many times, Shreyangsi Bahu Vignani. In Shreya, in something good when we want to achieve, there are many obstacles, many difficulties come, and we have to have strength of willpower to conquer and immovable in those situations. And the help of God comes and we conquer. Buddha sat, and in that very night he attained the Bodhi, he attained the Nirvana because of his willpower. Aprapya bodhim bahukalpa durlabham naivasanat kaya mata chalisyate. I will not move my seat, my body from this seat until I gain that bodhi, that nirvana, which I have been trying to get from many bahukalpa durlabham. It has not been attained. I will not give up this. That willpower strong, that night itself success comes. Practice of self-control is most purifying because it transforms our mind. It is the purity of mind that distinguishes a saint from a worldly person. What is the difference between a good person and bad person, from a saintly person and worldly person? Worldly person is very self-centered and gives to selfish urges, and whereas saintly person is all-centered, other-centered, and his life is more, he finds joy in helping, serving, caring others. That is what is saintly person. Saintly person is not someone who wears a particular kind of dress. Saintly person is among you and I. Those who might have family, who might have children and grandchildren, but their mind is tuned to help and serve others, and they find joy in doing that. They are not self-centered, they are other-centered. They care for other persons. Just the other day, I had gone to a memorial service, funeral of a young lady who suddenly passed away at 45. And where there were like thousands of people gathered there in the memory, where she was connected with many people in the nature camp and sports and school and colleagues. And everyone, they came and said how that lady in 45 years of her worldly life, but she was so saintly. Life is worldly in the saying, but she was so saintly. How she became saintly? She cared for everyone, every student, every colleague, every friend. She cared, she treated, she helped whenever help was needed, sacrificing her own comfort. Not one incident, many incidents. And those people who were speaking about her, young people of her age, they were crying, shedding tears, their voice choked, and I have not seen so much of emotion among the people here. We South Asians are more emotional, but people here getting so emotional, first time I saw how much life she has done. That is what is saintly life, when we are other-centered. That comes from control of mind and doing good to others. Mind is purified. Her life was cut short, but she is immortal in the life of all those whom she met. 1,000 people's life she met, and she changed. And many of them said, "We are what we are because of you, Sumana Ganguly, Sumana Sanyal." That's what they said. So that's how this saintly person is among us, friendly, saintly, caring, and that is how we can do this controlled mind. Self-control is asserting our higher self over lower self. Lower self that says, that becomes proud of any small achievement, success, that says, I am this, always making us individual person. And higher self is that which includes everyone, which says, I am a devotee of God, I am a friendly to everyone. That what Sri Ramakrishna says, pakami, ripe ego, that is the higher self, when our ego is ripened to become one with all. So that is what self-control is, the asserting of a higher self over lower self. Self-control is also achieved by sublimation of and channelizing and our urges and desires to our spiritual quest. Greed, anger, we can channelize that. Instead of against another person, we can say to ourselves, oh, I have not achieved this, I must achieve this. What you are doing, oh Mr. or Mrs., this thing, I have to achieve this. When we are angry with the thing, but not achieving in our spiritual goal, or not achieving in our higher self, then it is channelizing, sublimating our urges. Any urge that we can achieve. They say you have greed, channelize that greed for a cup of coffee to God. I have not, in the morning today I couldn't get a cup of coffee. I feel bad. Instead of feeling bad for not getting coffee, why don't you feel bad that you couldn't do properly your japam today? You couldn't meditate on your God today. We feel bad, greedy of meditation on God. I want to do more japam today. Today is holiday, today is Sunday. I want to spend more time in japam. Be greedy of that. Greed is there. It is channelized, it is sublimated. By that, we can have self-control. So, we say expression, self-expression. True self-expression is the expression of our higher self. Self-expression is always preceded by self-conquest. Swami Vivekananda says in the song of the Sannyasin that truth never comes where lust and fame and greed of gain reside. Truth means God, reality, true higher self, cannot come where there is lust and fame and greed of gain. That when we have greed or desire to enjoy or desire to have name and fame. When there is there, truth never comes. We cannot attain spiritual unfoldment. No man who thinks of woman as his wife can ever perfect be, nor he who owns the least of things, nor he whom anger chains can ever pass through Maya's gates. So give these up, Sannyasin bold, say Om Tat Sat Om. Woman as his wife, then how one will see to his spouse? As friend, companion, as guide, as gift of God to help him in spiritual quest. That's how spouse has to be seen. That's what those who do not see woman as his wife, if one sees, will not get that the God realization. That's what Swami Vivekananda says. When we need to do that, we have to transform all our relations, worldly relations, into spiritual relationship. Our demands and needs into spiritual quest. Everything should bring joy to our soul. And that will bring purity of our thought. So, dedicating yourself to cultivating self-discipline can be an incredibly freeing experience, allowing you to make wise decisions and take action towards achieving your goals. Believing in yourself is the most essential part of this journey. Have faith that with focus and commitment, anything is possible, no matter how hard it may seem at times. Your body, mind, energy will all improve if you stay on track. Use simple strategies over time until they become habitual routines for daily life. With dedication comes great reward. Many people look up to those capable of mastering their own discipline. So don't hesitate or give up when things get tough. Soon enough, these challenges will turn into successes thanks entirely to unshakable belief in oneself. Swami Vivekananda always says, believe in yourself and believe in God. The old religion said, we who doesn't believe in God is an atheist. New religion says, one who doesn't believe in himself or herself is an atheist. faith in God and faith in oneself should go parallel if we want to transform our life, if we want to have discipline in our life. Recognize yourself, your own faults. Are you suspicious, jealous, angry, or what are those non-virtues you have? Make a list of goals to achieve, how to have this self-discipline. Accept yourself first as you are, the real picture of yourself, and then take a step ahead to improve with the help of self-discipline. Do not take or commit for big achievements. Failure to achieve will give a setback. Promise yourself for small achievements with baby steps. Holy Mother's simple example of waking up in early morning when she was not well, and how with self-discipline she made her mind strong and continued. You know the story. Holy Mother one day was not well. She said, "Oh, it's not feeling well, I will not get up." Next day she felt better. Still somehow laziness came and said, "Okay, I'll get up a little later." Third day, she said, "Oh, mind is playing trick with me." Caught the mind and threw that trick of the mind and said, "No way doing. I'm getting up early in the morning." She used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and do prayer and meditation since then. On whole day she would work, cook food for Sri Ramakrishna, cook food for devotees, and would entertain the guests in her room, women guests. That was Holy Mother's routine. And that's how she had the control over the mind. Gautam Buddha, he promised not to get up until he finds truth. He sat with self-control. Mastery over oneself is vital for everyone. It is rightly said that true superiority does not consist in being superior to others, but in being superior to our former selves. Self-control consists in disciplining the mind and the senses. Sri Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita that self-control is a fundamental discipline for all seekers. If we allow the senses to have free rein, even success in secular life will prove elusive. Success in spiritual life certainly calls for self-mastery. Eating, sleeping, fear, and the urge to procreate are common to human beings and animals. The distinguishing trait of human being is their power of discrimination or discernment and the resulting practice of detachment. The senses are vigorous and powerful and eagerly pursue sense objects. Even a single uncontrolled sense can destroy our discernment and lead us astray. In the Viveka Chudamani, Sri Shankaracharya describes the plight of those whose senses are unrestrained. He says, attachment to any of the 5 senses is enough to cause death, as happens with the deer, the elephant, the moth, the fish, and the bees. What then to speak of man, which attached to all the 5? When food is pure, the mind becomes pure, teaches the Chandogya Upanishad, a Vedanta treatise. Sri Shankaracharya explains that food means anything taken in through any of the 5 senses. Equally important are the ideas we absorb through the mind. None can carelessly continue to gather mental dirt and yet hope to discipline and focus the mind. A disciplined mind acts as our friend and an undisciplined mind acts as our enemy, teaches the Bhagavad Gita. But how do we discipline the mind? Filling the mind with noble thoughts and continually dwelling on them disciplines and strengthens the mind. A devotee of God finds that sincere and steadfast repetition of the divine name restrains the mind and the senses without much effort. Thus, we can gain by giving to the mind the nice food and through the senses. And some like that it is said in the Buddhist lore about the Ashtanga, this 8-fold path, noble paths of the Buddha said, Samyak Vichara, Samyak Vak, Samyak Dhana, like that wholesome thought and wholesome concentration and wholesome lifestyle and wholesome speech, when you have all that control, what you are speaking, what you are thinking, how you are meditating, what you are working, and with that, if you have focus on that and you do it in a noble way, right way, and you gain all the right food to your mind, that mind will be purified. And when mind is pure, it will be a controlled mind. When mind is controlled, we are self-controlled, and a self-controlled person is a self-disciplined person, is a holy person, is a true devotee of God.